Hey Stacy, I'm seeing in this video, this is slower than your other video, and this is a much better speed to go. As your horse is coming towards us. If we do more videos, it's better if I see the horse going across the screen like that, or having the person stand like over here so I can see the horse from the side, because then I can get a much better view of its gait. So as it's coming here, it's smoother than your other video, but I don't get to see the movement of the horse's legs very long. So, you know, it's closer to step pace. So watch the horse's legs on the same side. They're pretty much coming off the ground together, but then the back leg lands and then the front leg lands. So that's a step pace. If we could get the legs just a little bit further apart, it would be closer to a saddle gait. Now right here, it's a little smoother. You can see you're not moving in the saddle because the legs are a little bit more separated, so it is going more towards a saddle gait there. She's gaiting better than in the other video. But the legs of your horse, I would like to see a little bit more separated because they start to almost move together. Your horse isn't hard pacing here, but the feet are starting to come off of the ground closer together. And so what we're trying to get is the back foot to come off, and then a couple of seconds later, the front foot to come off. That's what's going to keep it smoother, because then your horse is always going to have one foot on the ground. Right now, your horse is starting to swing those legs and come a little bit closer together, and that's going to make it a little bit more bouncy. Okay. Now, this step pace is a gait where the legs kind of come off the ground pretty close together, and then the back foot lands and the front foot lands. Okay. And the step pace isn't a horrible gait, but it has more of a bounce to it. If we can get the legs separated more, you'll end up with what they call a saddle gait or a slow rack, where the back foot comes off, then the front foot comes off, then the back foot lands and the front foot lands. That's going to make it much more comfortable. And then what happens in the saddle is you get a little wiggle in the saddle, or it'll be smooth. If the horse is step pacing, you're going to feel a bounce in the saddle, but it's a soft bounce, and so sometimes people don't mind it as much. But if you can work on it, it's much better that we get your horse to a saddle gait instead of a stepping pace. It's much better for the horse. Now, your horse's body is more inverted here, and when they invert their back, which means they make it kind of more like a U, they tense those muscles, and then what the gaited horses do a lot of the times, if they're on the pacey side, is once they tense those muscles up, that head's up and this whole area is tense, they swing their legs more than they pick them up and place them down. So we want to teach your horse to pick the legs up, place them down, not to swing the legs anymore. But to do that, we have to do a lot of things to try to make this better. So we got to teach your horse to bring its head down. And we do that by teaching them lateral flexion and vertical flexion, and I'll attach a video for you to watch. So you have to do it at the standstill, then you do it at a walk, and then once you can do it at a walk, then we start speeding the horse up. Now, by just bringing that horse's head down and getting the horse to relax his back, sometimes that's all we have to do, and the horse has the talent, and then all of a sudden they can do a flat walk, a running walk, and a saddle gait, okay? So we have to work on that first. So instead of working on gait, I would work on teaching this horse to bring its head down, and I want your horse's head, which is now lined up with your chest. That's a cute shirt. And I would like the top of your horse's head more around here, okay? So at least 6 inches lower. To do that, you might have to ride with a fair amount of contact to help that horse understand to keep its head down. But when you watch that other video, that should help it a lot. If you teach the horse to bring its head down, but then it keeps popping up, it means to use more pressure on the rein. If you get that horse's head down, but then it won't go any faster, it won't keeping its speed, then you're going to have to squeeze more with your legs to keep it going. It's kind of like riding the gas and the brake at the same time. Okay? So by bringing the horse's head down, what happens is they relax their spine in their neck. They're going to relax their spine back here. And what we're trying to do, instead of having your horse inverted like a U, we want to bring that horse's head down and round its body out. So that will bring it more towards the trotty side of the gaited spectrum, and that's how we're going to get our gaits. Now, riding wise, let me see if I can make this a little bit more so we're closer. You're pretty good. You're a little bit too loose on the rein, which is better than being too heavy-handed, but your fingers are all open, and then you'll see your hands are uneven, which a lot of people do, so don't worry about that. And then you got a big loop in the rein. You do have a shank bit, which might help you to get that horse's head down if that horse understands, but you're going to have to put more pressure on the rein. So instead of having that big loop, what I want to see from that bit is a straight line kind of going up to your elbow. So you're going to lower your hand a little bit. So I would like your hand down here. I'd like the rein shorter, about 3 inches, and holding more contact to help keep that horse's head down. Body position wise, when you have a pacey horse, you can tilt your pelvis just a little bit more forward. Think of what you see when you see the people jumping. And I have a video on that too. So if you haven't seen it, let me know and I'll attach that. And then the other thing is, if you do not have bad knees or bad hips, make the stirrup a little bit shorter so you can put more pressure down in your heel. Because right now you'll see your toe is lower than your heel. And it might be because maybe you're squeezing the horse to make it go, but you're trying to keep your heel lower than the toe. It helps you to keep the stirrup on your foot, but it also helps with your balance, because anytime you're up on your toe, then it can make you more unbalanced. So we're always trying to get our shoulder over our hip, and then our hip or our heel underneath our hip. So we want the leg back a little bit more. With the pacey horses, we can have our shoulders a little bit more in front of our hip and tilted forward. And sometimes just getting that weight on that horse's front end will help. So again, if you can, try your stirrups just a hole shorter, and that might make a big difference as well. All right, now I'm going to go to the other video. Now in your picture, this is much better. Your heel is down a little bit further. So try your stirrup one hole shorter, see how it feels. And if it hurts your ankle or your knee, or it just feels too short, then go ahead and keep it where it is, but try to keep more weight in your heel. Now in this picture, you're actually tilted a little bit forward, okay? So this is what I'm talking about. You can keep your shoulder a little bit in front of your hip, and that might help you to help your horse so it's not as pacey. And then even though you're standing still, I know you're just taking a picture, so it's perfectly fine that your horse's head is up for the picture. But you can see its ears are way up here by your neckline, and its head is kind of higher than your chest. So when we're trying to gait this horse, we want the horse's top of the head much lower, okay? So below your chest line and actually like down here somewhere. So we want to get that horse to relax its neck and its back. And again, with some horses, that's all we have to do to get the gait and then going the right speed. So the speed that you just showed me in that video would be the speed more of like a saddle gait. But what I try to do with all the horses is make sure they have a good foundation. So make sure they know how to bring their head down and to keep it down, that they know how to bend and make circles, because that will help you to get their gait when they're pacey. Make sure they can serpentine and leg yield, because all those things will help us to get this horse's gait. And then we want to start out slower. So think, you want to walk slow for 10 minutes. Then you want to think of a faster walk, which is called an extended walk in a regular horse, but in the gaited horse, it's going to be called a flat walk. And it's not super fast. It's 3 to 5 miles per hour, and I can walk 3 miles per hour, so most people can. And you want to do at least 10-minute work at that flat walk. So if you can send me videos of that, let me see that first. And then your horse might have a running walk after that, which is going to be just a little bit faster. And then you want to practice that running walk for 10 minutes, keeping that horse's head down as you're doing it. And then after that would be your horse's saddle gait. And all you do once you have that running walk and flat walk is you just speed your horse up a little bit, but you are going to stay tilted a little bit forward, and you're going to keep that horse's head down. And you slowly increase the speed, and then you'll see the horse's head won't be shaking anymore. So with the flat walk and the running walk, the horse's head will shake up and down, and you're going to kind of move back and forth like this. When you do a saddle gait, the horse's head will stay a lot more still. And in the saddle, you're going to feel a jiggle or a wiggle kind of back and forth, okay? And that's how you'll know you're doing it, or it'll be completely smooth. But you shouldn't feel any bounce. If you feel a hard bounce, that's a pace. If you feel a soft bounce, at least with your horse, that's going to be a step pace, because I didn't see anything trotty here. But this is a gorgeous picture. You're gorgeous. Everything looks really pretty otherwise. Okay, so here, first I'm going to comment on your horse's, if the screen will stay good, on your horse's anatomy a little bit, because this is good for other people to see. As your horse is coming, you are pacing, but your horse kind of wings its legs out. So watch those front legs. I'm going to rewind it so we can see it better. Okay, so watch as your horse is coming, especially that front leg. See how it's kind of winging out the side? So that's okay. That's just your horse's conformation. But it's an interesting thing to see, because it looks like your horse's legs are kind of flopping all over because of that, because it wings it out. Now, as you're coming, and you can see you're bouncing a fair amount, that horse is pacing. So I'm going to stop it for a minute. The only way you're really going to bounce is if your horse is pacing or trotting. And so when the horse is pacing, the legs on the same side, so the hind left and the hind left front are moving together, which I'll show you. If they were trotting, then the right front and the left hind would move together. So your horse is pacing. And what happens is the legs on the left side move together, and then the horse kind of hops, and then the legs on the right side move together. So since it's hopping side to side and there's not one foot on the ground all the time, you get the moment of suspension, and that is what is making you bounce up and down. So for this horse, that is way too fast for it at this point of its education and its conditioning. So the horse cannot hold that gait that fast. So that's why your horse is pacing instead. So we need to slow the horse down a fair amount. So even there, you're still pacing. So this speed is way too much for your horse. I'm sorry that it's blurry. Okay, I'm going to try to pause it. What I love is that you go, oh God. And I know exactly why you're saying that, because the pace is not fun. So your horse actually switched to a trot. It only did it for a couple of steps, and then it switched back to lateral. So right as I started talking, your horse was actually trotting, but now it's back lateral again. I think that's when you said, oh God. So the bouncing got worse. All right, so we'll watch again. So your horse is lateral, still lateral. It's kind of pacing. Now it's switched to a trot. So your horse can trot, which is good, because that means we can get more gaits out of it. Okay, but then it switched lateral, and right there you're doing like a rack. But your horse didn't hold it very long, because we need to help it and condition it to stay in that gait. So it's only getting it here and there. Okay, so what your horse did, and I'll show you in slow motion, is kind of swapped up its legs. It was lateral, and it was going, then it swapped its legs and went more diagonal towards the trot, and then went lateral again. So your horse has a lot of talent, because when they do that, when they swap back and forth between trotting and pacing, I go, oh, your horse can do a lot. We just got to get it out of it. So again, we need to go slower with your horse, get that horse's head down, neck and back relaxed, and go a lot slower and get it slower gaits first. So a lot of people just walk and then they go really fast because they're thinking it's like a regular horse and you just walk and then you trot. But with gaited horses, that can be a big mistake. The best thing to do is walk. Then you start a slower gait, which would be your flat walk. Then you go to the next gait once that's established, which would be either your running walk or saddle gait, or you might get both of those. And since I just saw this horse trot, you might even get a fox trot. And then you'll be able to get, from that saddle gait, you'll be able to get a racking gait. So this horse actually did rack a little bit towards the end, but we want it much, much smoother. The terrain can affect it, so if you're going up or downhill, that can cause the horse to change its legs. The only way to help them stay in gait is, one, we become more effective at showing them what to do. So going slower, bringing its head down, and then two, realizing when the footing goes up or down that we might have to slow down to help the horse. So if we're going uphill, you might be able to go a little bit faster than the flat walk or your running walk, but you don't want to go this fast. So for this horse at this point in time, the horse doesn't know what you want. And so she just is swinging her legs around. And so we got to make sure that your horse understands what to do with its legs, so you're not bouncing around so much. But I love that you said, oh God, because that was hilarious. So the other thing I'm seeing here is you're up there, but we got to teach you to help that horse more. So right there, you do have more contact, and you got a straight line from the bit going all the way up to your elbow. So there you have the right contact. The horse's head is actually a little lower. So this is much better. And body position, you're pretty good. You're going to be a very pretty rider. So what we have to do though, and you can see the horse is going more towards a trot here because the diagonal legs are starting to move together. So the right hind and the left front, okay? So, but what we have to do is slow that horse down a lot. With the gaited horses, the very confusing part is everybody thinks they're faster than they actually are. Now, they can be fast once they're trained and conditioned, but when they're not, they are not fast. So what you see people doing when they're doing a racking gait, your horse is going to, I believe, your horse is going to be able to do that. But right now, we have to get the footfall, get the horse doing it slower, and then slowly speed it up over time. And that means it's just like, I know you said you're a nurse, so it's just like physical therapy. And so we got to work the horse out, teach it how to use its legs, get its back and neck relaxed, go slower, and then over time we're going to build it up and we're going to speed this horse up. So hopefully that helps. And let me know if you have questions, and then I'll send you some links for some videos and some exercises to do. And then let's get this horse gaiting, because I think it's got a lot of talent in there, and she's been hiding it. And I'm sure she doesn't want to trot her pace either, because then you're bouncing on her back. So we want to get a nice smooth gait out of her. And I think we are going to be able to do this if you keep up your lessons and keep working on it.